grass withers and the flower fades, but the word of our God shall stand forever. I want to talk this morning about 3 decisions every man should make. 3 decisions that every man should make. He reined in his horses and stood in his chariot, gazing at an ancient bridge over a small river. It was a Saturday near Rimini in northern Italy. But across this river, into this obscure village of Rimini in northern Italy, swung the history of the whole Western world that cold January day. The year was 49 BC. The river, the Rubicon, the man, Julius Caesar. Jealous of his success and fearful of his popularity, his arch rival Pompey and the Roman Senate ordered him to disband his 13th Legion and come home back to Rome. Roman law strictly forbade any commander to lead a standing army across the river Rubicon. Both he and his men could be accused of treason, hunted down, and executed. Caesar came to the Rubicon. He paused only a moment and made his decision. Shouting to his men, he said, "The die is cast." He and his men were on their way to Rome. They seized control of the Roman government, and the rest is history. And since that day, the phrase "to cross the Rubicon" means to make a life-altering decision. A huge decision that affects all of the rest of your life. A decision from which there is no retreat. There's a point of no return. Once you cross the Rubicon, once you have made up your mind, there is no turning back. Centuries before Caesar, Joshua crossed the Rubicon. In the valley of Shechem, Joshua made up his mind, and Joshua admonished his followers, today is the day for making up your mind. Today is the day for crossing the Rubicon. Today is the day that you have to decide that there's no turning back. There's no retreat. There's no diffidence. There's no trying to make up your mind. There's no paralysis of analysis. Thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it and never coming to a decision. Today is the day to either make a decision or not. But to not make a decision is to make a decision. Choose this day whom you will serve. The gods on the other side of the floods, or the God in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, I've crossed the Rubicon. I've made the decision. I'm not turning back. There is no more deciding for me. As for me and mine, we gonna serve the Lord. Before I move further into this passage, brothers and sisters, it is significant for those of us who read the scriptures. It's significant that Joshua made this declaration in the valley of Shechem. Because in the valley of Shechem is residue from Abraham's life. It was in the valley of Shechem that God made Abraham a promise that he would be the father of many nations. It's in the valley of Shechem that Jacob dug a well. Jesus rested in the shadow of that well in the New Testament in a city called Sychar, which was in the Old Testament, Shechem. Joseph's bones are buried in Shechem. Moses called the people in Shechem because Shechem is between Mount Ebal and Mount Gerizim. And it's in that valley that Moses said to them, I set before you life and death, blessing and cursing. Therefore, choose life that you and your seed may live. It's in the valley of Shechem that Joshua calls them with all the residue of their past to say, bring in your wandering minds and decide whom you will serve. The gods on the other side of the floods or the gods in whose land you dwell, but as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. First of all, brothers and sisters, in this matter of deciding, of a decision every man should make, or every woman should make, or every Christian should make, it is first of all a personal decision. Joshua says, as for me, I want you to get this. He did not wait for a show of hands. He didn't wait to see which direction the crowd was going in. He did not wait for a committee to make a decision. He did not wait for a board to make a choice. He didn't stick his finger in the air to see which way the wind was blowing. It was a personal decision. As for me, you go where you want to go. Sing if you want to sing. Pray if you want to pray. Shout if you feel like shouting. Go to church if you want to go to church. But as for me, I made up my mind. Now, brothers and sisters, I'm trying to hurry and get through this so you can get to Sunday school. But to make Joshua's decision, you must first know the Lord. Because you can't decide on following somebody you don't know. I wish I had a witness here. Joshua knew who God was. And he knew who God was. And not only must you know God, but you got to trust God. Because you remember when Moses is buried and the Lord calls Joshua the son of Nun, and he says to take this people across the Jordan, and everywhere your foot will pass, I will give you good success. Just be strong and be of good courage, and everywhere your foot will trod, as I was with Moses, so also will I be with you. Brothers and sisters, in this valley of Shechem where Joshua is calling these people to remembrance, you have to keep in mind that an entire generation died in the wilderness. And there was another generation who did not know Moses or Moses' God. Reverend Al Sharpton, when he preached here, called them wilderness babies. Babies who were born in the wilderness, who did not remember how God brought them with an outstretched arm and a strong hand. And there are still some wilderness babies who come into church who don't know anything about our history and about our struggle. I was talking with someone about it yesterday. Eugene and I were talking about it yesterday. I'm sick of these black rappers and entertainers talking about that they are supporting Donald Trump after they made all their money on black people. Somebody help me talk here this morning. I don't want to go too far into that because I can't use the language that I want to use to talk about that. But after black folk have carried them and listened to their music and brought them and made them rich, now they want to go over on the other side. Wilderness babies. And folk who don't remember our struggle can't shout over our victory. When God has kept you, when God has brought you, don't wait for nobody else to raise their hand. As for me, you can sleep in church if you want, but as for me, you can act like you don't know God if you want, but as for me, I know who brought me, and I trust God because of what he's already done. Let me try to help some non-shouter in here this morning. If you want to learn how to shout, you got to have a good memory. Remember when you didn't have what you have right now. And if that don't make you shout, if that doesn't light your fire, your wood is wet. Just think about when you were broke and God paid your bills. When you were out and God brought you in. When you were sick and God made you well. When you were lost and God sent Jesus to find you. That ought to help you shout. As for me, to make Joshua's decision, you got to know God. You got to trust God. Then you got to serve God. And 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 serve God. Not just when you're the president, serve God. Not just when you leading the song, serve God. Not just when you're the chairman, serve God. Serve him when it's hot. Serve him when it's cold. Serve him when it's raining. Serve him when you got money. Serve him when you got friends. Serve him when you're by yourself. Serve God. You don't get paid for starting. You get paid for finishing. The race is not to the swift. The battle is not to the strong, but to whomever holds out to the end. As for me, that's a personal decision. But not only is it a personal decision, brothers and sisters, it's a paternal decision. The man of the house got to make that decision. Or the woman of the house got to make that decision. I need to say this to us. Many parents make the silly choice, the wrong-headed decision. I almost said the stupid decision of saying, I'm not going to make my child go to church because I don't want to turn them against God and I don't want to turn them against the church, so I'm going to let them decide. I don't want to make them go to church like my parents made me go to church. I don't want to make my children serve God. I want to let them decide to serve God. Let me demonstrate how ridiculous that statement is. That's like saying, I'm not going to make my child brush their teeth because I don't want to turn them against the dentist. I'm not going to make my child take a bath. I'm going to let them smell like a dog when they go to school, and I'm going to let flies be following them when they walk down the street because I don't want to turn them against water and taking a shower. I'm not going to make my child go to the doctor. I'm just going to let them get sick, and I'm going to let them decide what's good for them. I'm not going to make my child be vaccinated because I don't want them to be turned against vaccines. I'm going to let them get the measles and the mumps and chicken pox, and I'm going to let them be exposed to COVID because I don't want to turn them against doctors. We teach our children how to walk. We teach them how to talk. We teach them how to eat. We teach them how to swim. We teach them how to drive. We teach them how to work. Why can't we teach them how to serve God? Because there are some decisions my parents didn't let me make. They were made for me. I wish I had somebody who was raised like I was raised. Every once in a while, our parents let us decide what we wanted to eat. I mean, that was maybe once a year they let us decide what we wanted to eat. Every now and then we could decide what we wanted to wear. It wasn't that much in the closet, so it wasn't too much of a choice to make. But we never had a choice when it came to serving God. My mother and father decided for us that we were going to serve the Lord, that we were going to church, because that was a decision that our elders made. It was a paternal decision. If there was no man in the house, it was a maternal decision. I used to play the music at our church when I was growing up, 13, 14 years old. I was the musician at our church. I played the organ and the piano at our church. And one Sunday I was at church and I had a shirt open up. I had a new shirt. I had my little summer job. So I had bought a new shirt, new nylon shirt. That was the lick back in the early 70s. I had a new nylon shirt, and so I wanted to be impressive with it. And I wore my shirt to church with my collar open and had my little chain that I brought from West Brothers department store. And I wanted to be the Mac Daddy at church that Sunday morning with my little nylon shirt and my collar open and my little chain from West Brothers. And my pastor came to the pulpit and he said, "Brother Anderson, you're not at a juke joint. You're playing music in the church." He said, "Go home and put on a necktie. We're not going to sing another song till you come back. But you're going to go home right now and put on a necktie because you're not playing in some club. You're not playing a set. You're playing music at the church." I was so mad because I bought my little nylon shirt and I had my little chain from West Brothers, and there was a few chicks hanging around listening at me play. And you know, girls was kind of crazy about men who could play music back then. And my pastor said, "Go home and put on a necktie." And I was sulking and stomping and mad all the way home. And when I opened the door, my mama said, "What you doing here?" I said, "Reverend Wilkerson come talking about for me to put on a necktie and come back to church." My mama said, "What you waiting for? You better put on a necktie and go back to church." Now, if that would have been some of these mamas today, they'd have went to church and got on the pastor and cussed him out and tore up the organ and slammed the window. But my mama said, if he said put on a necktie, which one you wearing? Because they decided that we were going to serve God. And we need more strong parents today to decide for your children, if you're going to live in this house, we're going to serve the Lord. It's a personal decision. It's a paternal decision. But lastly, in verse 2, it's a public decision. Because Joshua didn't just say it to Joshua. And Joshua didn't just say it to his house. Verse 2 said he said it to all the people. "Choose this day whom you will serve. The God on the other side of the floods, or the God in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we're going to serve the Lord." And Joshua said it in the ears of all the people. Because there's a difference between a private decision and a public declaration. Because when you make a private decision, you can privately rescind it. But when you make a public decision, you make yourself accountable to other people. Because other folk are watching as if what you say in private is being played out publicly. Because your public display of worshiping God comes from how you privately worship God. Somebody ought to help me preach right here. If you shout in your house, you shout in God's house. If you praise God at your house, you know how to praise God at his house, because your private praise becomes your public praise. When General Sherman was marching to the sea, he came to Atlanta in the Civil War. General Sherman was the general of the Union troops, and he came to Atlanta where the Confederates were, and that was the last bastion of hope for the South in the Civil War. And General Sherman came to Atlanta, and there was this old grandmother standing up in front of General Sherman and all of his troops with a broomstick. And General Sherman looked at her pathetically and said, "Ma'am, what do you intend to do with a broomstick in front of the Union Army?" She said, "I probably can't do anything. I just want you to know what side I'm on." And this morning, I just want you to know whose side I'm on. I'm on the Lord's side. Come hell or high water, I'm on the Lord's side. Storms may rise, winds may blow, enemies may assail, my health may fail, but I'm on the Lord's side, because when he comes again, I want the devil to know I'm on the Lord's side. Yeah. And brothers and sisters, when you're on his side, the devil in hell can't do you any harm. And whatever comes your way, if you decide to follow Jesus, if you made up your mind, if it's a personal decision, if it's a paternal decision, if it's a public decision, whatever you do, make a decision. Decide today is the day of salvation. He says, the day you hear my voice, harden not your heart as in the day of provocation, but open your hearts and I will come in and sup with you.